Good afternoon. 2 post office workers have been treated in hospital after having chemicals thrown in their eyes during an armed robbery at Ashford. A masked gunman hijacked their Royal Mail van and ordered the workers to drive to Rylands Road at Kennington. The robber then sprayed the driver and his colleague in the face and stole cash bags. He escaped in a van driven by a second man. Police say the raiders later switched vehicles and they want to trace a burgundy Ford Escort Mark II. Meanwhile, new figures show there's been a dramatic increase in the crime rate across the southeast. In Maidstone, crime's up by nearly 50% so far this year. Mary Garn reports.
Burglaries have been increasing at a higher rate than any other crime. Experts say the recession's partly to blame, but that most burglars are opportunists. Criminals who are out of work and short of money will take advantage of someone who's left a car unlocked or a window open.
There does seem to be good evidence that in terms of economic recession, then one of the unfortunate side effects is that property crime goes up. Nor do I think it's really surprising when you stop and think about it. It's common sense, I think, that if a lot more young men are unemployed, they're going to have a good deal less income and a good deal more time on their hands, and the risk is going to increase, and it's that risk which worries us.
If most burglaries are opportunist, then people can help themselves and help reduce the number of crimes by being more careful about security. Mary Garn, TVS News, Maidstone.
The South East is to lose another 200 jobs. They'll go at laboratories in Gravesend as part of a company reshuffle. Staff at Nuclear Electric are being asked to move to headquarters in Gloucestershire. The company provides technical support for power stations in the region. And almost 180 jobs are in the balance at Folkestone, where the coach-building firm Dormobile has gone into receivership. The management blame the recession for problems. Receivers are now trying to sell the business as a going concern. Dormobile underwent 2 rounds of job cuts last year. Detectives say they're concerned for the welfare of an 8-day-old baby called Charlotte, who's been snatched from a Sussex hospital. She was taken from a maternity unit at Brighton's Royal Sussex County Hospital by her 30-year-old father. Charlotte, who was last wearing a blue romper suit, was under a local authority temporary care order. Anti-poll tax demonstrators have protested outside Southend Court, where 10 people are appearing accused of non-payment of the charge. The 10 will face jail sentences if magistrates find they haven't paid. A pregnant woman who faced the same charge has already appeared, but the case against her was withdrawn. The weather now. The cloud will persist on the coast this afternoon, but should break up elsewhere to give sunny periods. Top temperatures today, 18 Celsius. Tonight, dry, but the cloud will spread to most parts by midnight. Temperatures falling to a minimum of 7 degrees. That's it for now. We're back with a full roundup of news for the South East in Coast to Coast at 6. Do join us then.
Good afternoon. A seaboard official is in hospital after being robbed and stabbed at a village in Kent. The man who'd been carrying out meter readings at Pluckley was attacked in his van. A motorcyclist grabbed his wallet and then slashed him in the stomach with a Stanley knife. The man managed to stagger to a post office for help. A father accused of attempting to murder the hit-and-run lorry driver who killed his son is to be released on bail for Christmas. Stephen Owen's wife Marilyn went into Canterbury Prison this morning to meet him. It's hoped he'll be home later. Stephen Owen, who's 36 and from Sheppey, admits shooting Kevin Taylor near his home at Kemsley, but denies attempted murder. He spent 5 weeks in custody. He was given conditional bail until his trial following a hearing in chambers at Canterbury Crown Court. A Kent doctor has spoken of her relief at being cleared by an inquiry into the way she's handled child sex abuse cases. The methods of paediatrician Heather Richardson were examined after police and social services expressed concern about her work. But the South East Thames Regional Health Authority says there's no reason to recommend disciplinary action.
I have been kept going by the knowledge that the allegations against me were untrue and had arisen as a result of a misunderstanding of the nature of a specialist doctor's work. I'm not there to accuse. My job is to help children.
Murder squad detectives in Essex are continuing their search for clues to the killing of a tattooed man. The man, called Steve, was probably tortured before being beaten and stabbed. His partly burned body was found down an embankment off Canvey Way in Benfleet. Police are appealing for witnesses. That's it. We're back with Coast to Coast at 6.
Here's our weather. This evening it'll be wet and windy, rain some heavy with a strong westerly wind, the lowest temperature 5 degrees Celsius. The rain will continue through tomorrow morning, slowly disappearing in the afternoon, and the best 10 degrees Celsius. That's the weather. There's a ridge of high pressure and deep depression in Sons and Daughters. Next.
Good afternoon. Detectives in Brighton are questioning a man in connection with the murder of Suzanne Bromley. Suzanne's body was found last Thursday among gravestones in a cemetery. She'd been strangled. Suzanne, who was 21, left her home in London 2 years ago and had been living in lodgings in Brighton. Police say a 30-year-old man was arrested in London last night. Meanwhile, Gillingham police have issued a fresh appeal for information as they continue inquiries into the death of 18-year-old Lara Perrell. Lara's body was found in an alleyway in the town in the early hours of last Saturday. A man has been charged with her murder. Detectives want to talk to two men who were seen coming out of the alleyway just before 2 in the morning. They believe the pair, who were wearing shell suits, may have seen something relevant to the investigation. A car storage firm is pulling out of Thanet, blaming pollution from the Richborough power station. Gefco, which stores Peugeot cars on a 21-acre site between Ramsgate and Sandwich, will be moving to Sheerness before Christmas. The company is seeking compensation from Powergen for alleged damage to hundreds of cars kept nearby. They say the plant's experimental fuel, called Oremulsion, caused damage to paintwork. The power station's management don't accept the company's claims. A smoke alarm saved a landlady's life after a blaze broke out at her pub in Dartford. The fire started in a living room on the first floor of the Bird in Hand early this morning. Fire crews were alerted after a milkman spotted flames in the building. It's thought a cigarette or a faulty television caused the blaze. Tom Tyler, the Sussex vicar suspended from his post in Henfield, has been granted legal aid for another appeal. The church has already spent £280,000 on Mr. Tyler's legal fees. Mr. Tyler, who's 52, was found guilty of adultery with a married parishioner at a church court. He now has 2 weeks to appeal to the Court of Arches, which is similar to the Court of Appeal. Mr. Tyler's consistently denied conduct unbecoming a clerk in holy orders. The hearing's likely to be in the new year. That's it for now. We're back with our full roundup of news in Coast to Coast at 6 o'clock.
Here's the weather forecast. It'll become rather cloudy and misty again this evening, but any fog will only be on the higher ground. A cooler night than it's been recently, in some places falling to 5 degrees Celsius. And that's the weather.
Sunday on TVS. A mysterious death, but was it murder?
Reg, I told you I had a hunch Hannah Kingman was in danger. You dismissed it.
So you think it's suicide?
Of course. Something like that. Stands to reason.
Axel Kingman murdered her. He tried it twice before, but you wouldn't listen.
The suspects gather in the concluding part of Ruth Rendell's Means of Evil. Sunday at 7:45 on TVS.
In a few moments on TVS, Sons and Daughters.
Good afternoon. An ambulanceman based at Rayleigh in Essex has been suspended following accusations that he stole money from a dead man. Derek Palmer, who's 57, from Shoebury-Ness, is due before Basildon magistrates next month. He's alleged to have taken cash from the pocket of a man found dead at his home in Wickford. A ferry company has postponed its takeover of the crippled Newhaven to Dieppe service so it can employ crews on its own terms. Sealing Stena also wants to wait until a strike by French seamen at Dieppe is resolved. Crews have been occupying the Champs-Élysées for a month in protest over the transfer of the route, with the loss of 400 jobs. Meanwhile, a freight ferry firm based at the Dartford International Freight Terminal is closing with the loss of 133 jobs. Kent Line is stopping its twice-daily trailer ferry service to Zeebrugge at the end of May. Dock workers and office staff will be made redundant. An inquest has opened into the deaths of the couple whose bodies were found at the bottom of a well in Ashdown Forest. Simon Gross and Maureen Dell were discovered by police who'd searched the area for several days. A post-mortem has already revealed that Maureen Dell died from multiple stab wounds to the neck. Mr. Gross had died from hypothermia. The campaign to free an Essex man jailed in Portugal for murdering a schoolgirl has been delayed because his lawyer has died in a car crash. Michael Cook, a mechanic from Thundersley, was convicted in February of strangling 10-year-old Rachel Charles in the Algarve. He's appealing against a 19-year sentence, but the case has been delayed because his family must find another lawyer. A German man's appeared in court charged with helping to bring 7 illegal immigrants into the country. They were found concealed in a camper van during a routine search by customs officers. Mario Baerlin has been remanded in custody by Dover magistrates. The immigrants are likely to be deported. A homeowner has been awarded £90,000 to rebuild the dream home he claims was ruined. Mike Theobald bought the newly built house 4 years ago. Building experts later found 140 separate faults, including problems with the roof and foundations. Developers never admitted liability and closed down, only to set up under a new name. Now the National House Builders Confederation has agreed to pay Mr. Theobald to cover rebuilding and legal costs. A former cinema at Margate has been restored to its former glory at a cost of £400,000. The Dreamlands Bingo Hall now has a wooden dance floor, new seating and a fresh splash of paint. Tea dances are also planned. It'll be the first time the resident organ has been used for nearly 60 years. A Kent charity is using a revolutionary technique called cued speech to help deaf people speak more clearly. Communication is, of course, a constant struggle for the deaf, but now they've overcome their disability at a centre in Canterbury, as Paul Beard explains.
There's nothing new in using a children's song to teach adults another language. The difference in this case is that many of those participating are profoundly deaf. They're being taught a system of improved lip reading known as cued speech, which vastly improves communication for deaf people.
With cued speech, there's always a dependable place to show exactly where every sound is. So E is placed by the mouth, E is on the chin, I is at the throat, and is at the side.
The development, pioneered in the United States, has transformed the lives of thousands of deaf people. Once they've learned cued speech, their ability to lip read improves, and their own speech increases. Maria Rogers is able to work normally in a Canterbury accountant's office, having learned cued speech. Colleagues say it's revolutionised her outlook.
It means that we don't have to shout, and any member of staff can come and talk to her.
The hope now is that many more sufferers, previously reliant solely on sign language, will take the trouble to learn cued speech.
That's it for now. We'll be back with more cued speech of our own in Coast to Coast with its full roundup of all the news for the South East beginning at 6 o'clock. Do join us then.
The weather forecast tonight will be misty with hill and coastal fog and some light rain from time to time. Lowest temperature 9 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow brighter with sunny spells from mid-morning, scattered afternoon showers and best temperature 14 degrees Celsius.
Good afternoon. Hundreds of mourners have attended the funeral of a young boy who died in a garden accident. A motorcade of cars carried the family of 2-year-old Luke Rye-Osmond. He drowned in a cesspit after he fell through a manhole cover in the family's garden at Bobbing near Sittingbourne. Elaborate bouquets accompanied the tiny coffin at the ceremony at Snodland. Police in Essex are hunting an armed robber who raided a jeweller's shop. The masked man threatened the manager of Gems Jewellers at Pitsea. He forced him to fill a bag with thousands of pounds worth of jewellery from a window display. Detectives are widening their search for a man wanted over an attack in which a woman's hand was almost severed by a machete. Kent police are contacting other forces to trace Christopher Woolnough, who's 25, from Stewart Road at Gillingham. He's wanted for questioning after Sylvia Eastwood was attacked at her home in Chatham. She's undergone 12 hours of surgery to save her hand. An 18-year-old girl has been killed in a car crash at Rochester. Cass Davis of Farmdale Avenue in Rochester died when two cars collided at Weller Avenue. Her Ford Capri rolled over after the crash near the junction with Tasler Avenue. An Eastbourne man who was banned from keeping animals for 5 years was back in court today for breaking that ban. Malcolm Goodsill from Lotbridge Drive was convicted of cruelty to animals last December, but Eastbourne magistrates heard a dog and cat were found at his home during a recent visit by an RSPCA inspector. Mr Goodsill was fined £200. Mid-Kent Water is planning to extend its drought order because of the continuing water shortage. The company is also applying to the Department of the Environment for permission to take more water from underground supplies. The drought order would include a ban on hose pipes and car washes. Mid-Kent Water says the moves are needed to maintain essential supplies this summer. Injury has forced two windsurfers to abandon a marathon cross-channel attempt after just 2 days. Simon Bornhoft and Adriano Roldan wanted to repeatedly cross the channel to raise £100,000 for the Amazonian rainforest appeal. They had planned to zigzag across the channel until the end of the month, but they've had to stop because one of them has injured his back. The most premature baby ever to be born at Ashford's William Harvey Hospital is celebrating the first anniversary of his homecoming. Tom Cloughton weighed less than a bag of sugar when he was born 17 weeks prematurely, and he spent 5 months in incubators. He's now 21 pounds and in excellent health. His parents, Michael and Daphne, have started counselling other families whose babies are born prematurely. A sailor who had to give up a round-the-world trip because of illness just hours after setting off has been reunited with an old friend. 68-year-old Bob Faversham thought Scylla the cat was lost overboard when he was rescued off Ramsgate, but as he cleaned out his boat he found the animal cowering in the bilges, alive and well. The weather, cloud and rain, will clear this afternoon to give bright or sunny intervals, temperatures up to 18 Celsius, and tonight mostly dry with clear spells. That's it for now. Our main news in Coast to Coast beginning at 6 o'clock. Do join us then.
There's a shocking store for Gordon when he discovers a family secret after the break.